Shit things happen. No one expected the world to currently be ravaged by something that I'm trying not to mention in name due to YouTube algorithm purposes. Shit happens. And it sucks. In this video, we're going to be talking about the concept of how life does get better, and it can get better slowly and progressively and steamrollingly, like a little snowball going down a hill, through the concept and understanding emotional healing. Now, if you don't know who I am or you're new to this channel, hi, my name is Sharam Namdarian, life coach, dating coach. I also teach people how to heal themselves because, truth be told, I found that in my own life, or when I did that for other people, pretty much most things sorted themselves out. I believe most life problems are emotional healing, and that should be the first point of call that, that people go through. So my first encounter with emotional healing was through my own depression. Essentially, I would say that life can lead us astray sometimes. We can listen to the wrong people, we can onboard the wrong thing, or some along the way, generations before we existed, someone hurt someone else and they just did not know how to handle it. So that person hurt someone else, and that person hurt someone else. Then eventually we were born and that person hurt us. Now, there are a few people out there who are just lucky, who just have their life work out for them really easily, and those people, to be honest, are amazing. But some of us, on the other hand, just have been led astray. Just have been led astray because shit happened to us when we were too young to fucking handle what it was, and it hurt us in a way that we did not know how to handle it. Now, what I love about the whole process of emotional healing is because when one person learns how to heal, they actually are forced to deal with the stuff that has been plaguing them for their whole fucking life. That a person has to deal with the underlying problems that they in some ways were suppressing. So how do we heal ourselves, you might be asking? Well, if you watch this channel or if you talk to me in person, you might hear me talk about it all the fucking time. There is no complicated method to this. It is just a system of feeling, letting yourself fully surrender. That's the word that I love to use and that I want the world to put my name synonymous with. That we must surrender to our emotions, no matter how dark or how desire, without acting on them, without trying to change them. You can act on them if you want in some cases, without trying to change or modify. That's the major things. And then once we have fully felt it, the emotion is fully let itself complete itself. And once that has happened, we are free. It's like watching a movie. Once you've finished the movie, you know what the movie's about. Once you've read the book, you know what the book's about. Happiness, sadness, everything. The process of healing, I like to say tongue-in-cheek, is a process of bad to good, good to great. Now, will shit happen in life? Yes, sometimes bad things happen, and they might not be aligned. But the process of healing ultimately allows you to realign your life and to react wholesomely towards the things that you can't control, and to have so much more control over the things that you can. So what do? We decide to look at every little aspect of our life. A person, for example, suffering through deep depression, that's where I started on this journey, might spend years, or at least in my case, I spent years surrendering to my depression. Painful, painful stuff. A lifetime or generations of my own depression had to come up and had to come out, to be pulled out of my body like splinters. Now, what you might find, and what are perfectly acceptable ways of living, is people trying to modify it. They try and modify how they feel. They are intentionally modifying. We do it all the time. We take drugs. We drug ourselves up. We try and think. I like to look at these things as dropping the weights of life, rather than something that is to be thrown away, because there's perfectly valid reasons to modify how we feel about the world, or modify our things if something is just too hard and we need to function. These are dropping the weights of life. You lift too heavy weights, you're going to hurt yourself. Lift the right amount of weights, you get stronger. But there comes a time where in your journey where you might have to, and most people inadvertently have to either consciously or unconsciously surrender. That is to let yourself feel whatever the fuck is going on underneath. Now, through my own journey, my own surrender to my pain lasted so long because in a way I was not surrendering to the pain. You got to surrender to everything. I was not only I was surrendering to the pain, but I was not surrendering to the what do you call it? I was not surrendering to what I thought about the pain. That it was so big, so massive, so intense, so painful. My thoughts about the pain, in a way, perpetuated the pain. Now, what I find really interesting, because, I started out as Mr. Sharam Namdarian, dating coach extraordinaire, is that if I was to facilitate surrender in someone else or to teach them how to do it themselves, their relationships essentially reorientate themselves. They do not have to try everything. That's why I find a lot of advice out there, and I've been one who pushed that out there, and some people love it and some people need it. It's called dropping the weights, as we said. It's all about avoiding the situation sometimes. I feel uncomfortable, therefore I must do something to make myself feel uncomfortable, rather than an expression of one's soul. A simple way of putting this is play games, get players. When someone learns to surrender and process their emotional feelings when it comes to relationships, well, what are some of the things someone might feel when it comes to relationships? They might feel that they always have to try. Or they might feel like they are forcing their love on someone. Once that cycle is complete, we are free. We are free to try. We are free to allow. We might have some epiphany where it's like, I'm trying too hard. I must step back a little bit. These feelings that we have are often perpetuate the situations we exist in, especially in relationships. So it might be that you are someone, for example, who believes that you're always the one who's making an effort. You're like, my partner does not make an effort. Upon surrender to the feeling that my partner does not make an effort, it's always me. Wah, wah, wah. I say that because I healed that aspect of myself. What ends up happening is you then realize that you may not be giving them space to come to you. So then you start to develop and learn an acumen towards letting someone come to you. Or not even that, it synchronistically happens as your attitude and appearance and everything changes towards that person, that they themselves feel more comfortable and allowing. I know a commonality is when it comes to sexual connections, intimacy. We're going to use the word intimacy for YouTube algorithm reasons. But what ends up happening is there are beliefs that we have. There are beliefs. There are feelings, beliefs perpetuated by feelings unresolved. That no one wants me. Or I feel rejected. Upon processing that rejection, are we free from rejection? Well, maybe not. But we might be completely fucking okay with it. That we might actually see that someone rejecting us is not necessarily rejecting us, maybe the situation. Maybe we're too good. That's been the case. I know I've, in the past, you will note, I'm not going to share past stories, but you might be too good. And from your new healed perspective, you'll be able to see it. So what ends up happening? As you heal, all of this tied up emotion that is locked in these feelings, locked in these feeling bad about who we are and what we're doing, that we have been letting ourselves avoid for our whole life must come up. And when they do come up, that energy is essentially released. More of you becomes more available. I know over this period of time, maybe it's been 2 years, 1.5 years of me constantly fully surrendering to surrender. Because before I did it a little bit. Now I'm like, nah, fuck it, let's do it. I feel like my vision has even expanded. Like I used to describe my memories before this time, almost feel like I have a tunnel vision, because now there is more of me here. I am free and available to witness what the fuck is going on around me. And so life gets better. Life gets better. Life gets better. You might realize there's something you can't change, but you can do your fucking best to exist within it. Like, for example, certain world climate. You might realize you just got to fucking move. Or you might realize that you just got to do your best. Or you might realize everyone else is doing their best. What ends up happening when one learns to surrender is that we end up solving the most prominent problem. It might be that someone learns to surrender because they are struggling with money. So they're like, I want more money. So what do? They surrender to the feeling of more money. I want more money, that desire. Then beliefs come up, but I have to work hard. I try hard and I get nowhere. And all of these feelings, these freed up energies end up cycling through, the emotions complete themselves, then we ourselves are free to realize that maybe I believed that I had to work hard for money. So what did I do? I found jobs to reaffirm that belief. In the past, I've talked about the lens in which we view things. That's a perfect example. They might come to learn to surrender and about emotional healing because of relationships. My relationship is not going the way I want it to go. Then they admit to themselves that they just aren't happy. Then they allow themselves to change the relationship. Their shit becomes like systematically, amazingly organized. Like things just start happening, whether you do it or you allow it in your life. That's the thing. I always like to think of it as a pipe. The thing you desire often is like a pipe. This is blockages in the way that stop it from happening. And we remove them, the cycle is complete. The energy flows between you, your partner, you, the money, you, the whatever it is. Now, what's interesting then is usually what happens is once this person has started this journey, for someone who has a great, I guess, without lack of a better way of saying it, karmic debt, like a lot of issues that they actually have that they've suppressed. Now, not everyone is like this. They have to go and deal with that. If life gets better, we cannot have things holding us back, which means we have to then look at the past, those past demons, those things that have held us back the entire fucking time. I know personally in my own journey, I had to systematically, painfully, almost relive and go through the experiences of every time, every suppressed emotion. Pain towards family, shyness that I did not want, fear that I tried to run away from, insecurities. For me, one of the biggest things that I personally went on was around social skills. Mr. Sharam, Namdarian, ooh, so social, ooh, very social. So I systematically went on a journey of surrendering these things. Oh, I have to try. I'm always the one to starting conversations. As I surrendered those blockages, people started talking to me. Oh, I look ugly. I let myself become more attractive, at least my vision of it. My partner's always saying, you're always this good looking. And I'm like, shut up, baby. I know it, but deep down I didn't. As I'm aware of it, I become more aware of it and I can enhance it or de-hance it as I am free to mold my appearance like Play-Doh. But then what ends up happening? The social things, we start to manifest the things we want. And once we start to create those things, we essentially realize that maybe that wasn't what we wanted the entire time. So we start to see, like for example, with my own social journey, I realized I really wanted to be liked. Upon surrender to that, upon deep emotional surrender to the desire to be liked, did I realize I was essentially, and this is like a big old cliche, essentially trying to fill a gap. That's not right. It's trying to, what was happening? It was trying to be liked because I picked up on a fear of someone else and I never processed that. So it was a fear of not being liked because if you don't have like, you don't have opportunities. And upon realizing that, I become much more comfortable not being liked. And much more comfortable in those situations where, frankly, I've probably pissed people off in the past. And much more comfortable, as a result, sharing my truth, which is a big part of it is emotional healing. So these things have to go back. We have to go back. I remember I was helping someone heal their relationships. And you better believe they probably, what was it, like a week-ish or so, just crying on the floor. After that, they were like, oh, it's the most cathartic thing I've ever felt. Often with clients, if I'm working with someone privately, if it's new or whatever, they might have a horrible week. Re-experiencing a problem. That's what the feeling of surrender is. It's a re-experiencing. We're choosing to feel those things that we hid ourselves from. That then we become more available to the future. And I will work with people, and it's quite an interesting thing. Not all the time. Healing crisis. All this pain, their body finally knows how to heal itself. That is to feel. So what do? They are crying. Crying, crying, crying. Maybe an hour, maybe 2 days, maybe 3, maybe a week. Once it comes out, we are free. We gain a new fucking perspective. And from this new perspective, we see it as it truly is. We were just suffering from something. The conscious people, those who are most body aware, who are very conscious about this stuff, will have that clarity. Some people won't, and that's fine. Some people get visions, ideas, whatever. So the general rule when it comes to emotional healing, bad goes good, good goes great. It's all uphill. It's an elevation of consciousness. It's an elevation of the perspective in which we view the world. I know when someone used to get angry at me. Someone used to get angry at me and I would take it on board when I was younger, like, oh, someone's angry with me. What have I done wrong? Therefore, I was uncomfortable with people getting angry at me. Therefore, I must do everything I can to stop that from happening. You become the ultimate people pleaser like I did. Then, not only did I process my fear of people being angry at me, not only did I process the fear of that feeling of having someone get angry at me, was I then fucking free that every time I see someone angry at me, I can tell, are they angry at me or are they angry at them? Sometimes, I'm saying it here because here's the mic, sometimes they're angry at themselves. You can hear them yelling at you, but they are yelling at themselves. Yeah, you do this, you do this, you do this, and you hear them say it to themselves like a broken person trying to fix themselves. So it's interesting. It's really fucking interesting. And I really hope that either you get on board, you somehow enjoy this in your own, or at the very least, you develop some new expanded awareness from watching these videos. If you did like this video, leave a like, comment something you may have learnt from this video because it really helps me develop more. And also, if you're interested, I'm currently reworking my online courses. I've got a whole bunch of online courses. The one I recommend is Unlock Your Desires. It's an online course about introduction to surrender, specifically about desires. Because honestly, one of the reasons why we don't get what we want is we didn't fucking know what we wanted. It's like, I know that every time I've gone for a job and I never got it, honestly, it was because half the time I didn't fucking want the job. So it's like opening ourselves up to what we truly really are, what we truly really want. And that, to be honest, is a lifelong journey. It's something that I still use to this day. It's this act of surrender that I live, I breathe, I teach, and it's opening yourself up to more of you. So thank you so much for watching this video. Mwah. Talk to you soon.